Do you have oodles and oodles of fabric scraps and can't figure out what to do with them? Or maybe you haven't saved any scraps at all because you don't know what to do with them. Well, today on Heidi Creates, I'm going to show you one of the ways that I use up the fabric scraps that I have. And we're going to make a little quilt sampler. And from there, you can make it the background to a piece of art, or actually even make it part of a larger quilt if that's what you want to do. While you're watching this video, at any time that you are liking what you see, if you would just hit the thumbs up, that would be a great favor to me. And also if you subscribe and then click the little bell, that'll give you notifications for when I post my next videos. And stick around, watch what we're going to do here, and let's have some fun here on Heidi Creates. So I've gone through my scraps, and I've separated the colors that I had into different colorways that was pleasing to my eye, that kind of went together. And so for this one, as you can see, I put together blues and greens. I've trimmed some of the shapes just to square them up maybe a little bit. I'm not really sure about this one, if I'll use it or not. It's the only one that has any orange in it. We'll see how it goes when I'm putting it together and I'm piecing it. What I have here is SF101. It's a fusible woven interfacing. And why do I use this? Honestly, it's because what I have a lot of, and I use it a lot for other projects, and so this is what I started using, and I like it. What I'm going to do is I'm going to actually lay a piece out with the sticky, the glue side facing up, and then I'll start arranging the different cut pieces right on top of it. So what I tend to do when I arrange my pieces is I kind of tend to start with the largest pieces and then fill in. So if you're wondering, why do you have such a small workspace? It's because we live on a boat right now. If you know anything about boats, space is premium. And it works. I make it work. Yes, I'm also working in my bathroom, because guess what? These are COVID-19 days. I don't have to get dressed if I don't want to. I've got the piecing done, and as you can see, I'm okay with not everything being completely square, and I got some irregular shapes going on. But all of that, when I take it to the sewing machine, is all going to get sewn down and make this a solid piece of fabric. If you want less work, I guess you would maybe want to make your shapes more square and have everything meet up and less piecing. But to me, this is scrapping. This is what this is all about. So what I'm going to do next is I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to press this really well to the SF101. Before I even move it, I'm going to let it cool to make sure everything is really adhered well. And I'm going to put a parchment paper on the top of this so that my iron doesn't ever come in contact with any of the glue. Well, I got everything pressed, and you can, go through and see if there's anything. Like, this is kind of loose right in here, and actually I think I'm going to trim that off. Another thing that you can do is I have this washable glue stick. This is kind of like, I don't know, it's called Crazy Art. No, any of your big box stores. Anyway, have anywhere that you want to glue something down, just go ahead and use that, because there's a lot of fabric underneath here that's already touching the adhesive. That just didn't get ironed down because there's not enough touching the fusible interfacing. So just give it a little help. So I pulled out some colors of thread that go with the colors that I have used in this particular piece. Because I have a little bit of this orange toned, goldish toned color in here, I also pulled out this thread, which will just really help pull that in. Even though I used it in more than one place, I think I have it, excuse the bumping around, but I have it up there in the top left hand corner as well. just using the thread that has that color in it throughout this piece will also really help to really pull it all together. Metallics are super fun, and so I pulled out a couple of metallics. Here's a metallic blue here. Just have fun with your threads, because this can really make the piece. We're using thread to make this one homogeneous piece of fabric. And I think that's probably the wrong word, but anyway, we're going to use it anyway. It's all going together. So anyway, we'll go to the sewing machine and I'll show you some of the things that I do there. One of the things that I like to do when I'm getting ready to do my stitching on these pieces of fabric is to look at the different patterns that are in the fabric. And one of these patterns are the dots. And so I can actually mimic that in the stitches. I have this particular dot stitch programmed on the machine, and I'm going to go ahead and start with that. As you can see, I have the gold toned thread in the machine, and that's why I'm going to go ahead and start with that. So basically, when I get ready to sew this, I am stitching right where the different pieces intersect. So I'm pretty much I'm joining them together. So I pretty much put that right down the center of my foot, and I stitch the two sides together, and that'll make it into one piece of fabric. Well, you can see I did that pretty gold pattern all the way down to this point. I want to actually take the shape along this edge, and so the two lines will actually meet up together. I'm going to go ahead and start right here. I have two lines of the dot pattern that intersect right down here, and I'm going to go ahead and choose some other spots, and actually when I get done with all the different stitching I'll show you what I've done. One of the things that I wanted to point out is that with the different real shiny metallic looking thread is I like to use the denser stitches because it really pops out so nicely, and you can see that with the gold. This is the more metallic one, this blue one here, this aqua, and just shows up so pretty. I love that. Well, I've stitched on here as much as I'm going to do. One of the things that you could also do would be like couching on different fibers and just adding a lot of different texture and color to this. I wanted to show you that on some of these areas where I did the stitching, I did follow a straight line where the pieces come together. But I also did meandering, so I didn't necessarily stay just on where the pieces butt up together. I might have started out, let's see, I'm trying to find one. Here I came along the straight line right there, meandered around, went up here, came across this area where they join together, and meandered a little bit here. Wherever you want to go, but just make nice, you can do some straight lines but also make some nice curves, and it looks really pretty. So I went ahead and ironed this and got it pretty flattened out. Sometimes these really heavy satin stitches here will tend to make the fabric pucker just a little bit, but if you're careful with the iron, you can get that pressed out pretty well. With the metallic threads, I do like to be really careful. If I'm ironing from the front, I will use a pressing cloth so that my iron's not touching directly on the metallic thread. And I will also press it from the reverse side. And I'm just turning it over so you can actually see more of the stitching. You can see the different curves. So you can see where it kind of meanders around and just kind of gives a really interesting pattern and a really nice look to the whole thing. So I think I'm going to go ahead and stop here. This is how you can make your own fabric just using up your scraps, and I'll show you what I end up using this for. This is actually what I ended up doing with this particular quilt sampler. I finished it off like a regular quilt with the binding, and this actually will hang on the wall. And this one says, "To dance is to feel your spirit soar." This will be for a little girl's room. Got the cute little three-dimensional dress, a little tutu there. It's just one of those things that you can do with your scrap pieces of fabric and just get creative and have fun with it. There are no limitations to what you can do.